and the city and council member for District 1 that includes both historic districts in our Howard County. That process that you just did, that involved the exhibits that my office has submitted to you, or are they some other thing that applicants have put before you?
They're from your email.
Okay.
I forget when they came in.
Okay.
I saw them earlier today. Yes.
Okay, great. And I had those 3 new exhibits that I asked that you please consider and cite to, and declining again this unreasonable demand being repeated upon you. All 3 documents that we sent over are from the public domain. All specifically are from the final signed site plans posted by this Howard County onto its interactive map. That's on my screen that I can see is Exhibit 1 from the May 2024 hearing. We submitted today by noon, Exhibits 4, 5, and 6. All our sheet, yes, that looks more like it, although there's no way I can read that on my screen. So Exhibit 4, if that's what you're looking at, is sheet 2 of 3 from the site development plan for the Woods of Park Place, directly across historic scenic road from the Lacey property. Another development of 13 homes in the historic district. That site plan was approved by the planning board of Howard County in 2003, and it says that right on there, right on the document, approved by the Howard County Planning Board. Exhibit 5 is a single sheet 3 of 8, from the site plan for the Lacey property that was approved by the planning board of Howard County in 2017. That sheet also says the same thing, approved by the Howard County Planning Board, right on there. And then the 3rd exhibit we submitted this morning is Exhibit 6. It's the entirety of the 3-page final plat for the Lacey property, approved by the County Department of Planning and Zoning for the Lacey property 7 years after that planning board approval, 3 months ago in June of 2024. Thank you, Commission, for receiving those additional exhibits 4, 5, and 6 into evidence. Recall, please, and I guess you have them with you because I just saw them. I testified at the May most recent hearing of this commission on the Lacey property to note that nothing then about the then request for advisory comments comported with a long, long history particular to this project, particular to this site before this particular commission. Those 3 exhibits I shared with you then. Exhibit 1 was a rendition of the Lacey property layout, that's it, of homes as submitted to and approved by the planning board in 2016. Exhibit 2 was a summation of the Lacey property's many, many applications and requests submitted to this Historic Preservation Commission up through that planning board case, that's it, in 2016. Both exhibits 1 and 2 came from the Department of Planning and Zoning's technical staff report to the planning board in 2016. Exhibit 3 was the April 16th testimony of this Historic Preservation Commission, that's it, to the planning board about the Lacey property, about the plans depicted in Exhibit 1. And you said then the density of the Lacey subdivision needs to be greatly reduced and the size of the lots increased in order to be compatible with the surrounding historic neighborhood. This commission, again, after all of those proceedings outlined in Exhibit 2, then warned the planning board. The purpose of those first 3 exhibits I shared with you in May through tonight remains the same. This request before you today, though slightly less repellent than last time, bears no relationship to nearly a decade of this commission's work and other county development processes dedicated to the Lacey property. Those first 3 exhibits speak to the context of the Lacey property itself, its own procedural history before this very commission. Tonight, I present you 2 further contexts. First, physical, in terms of how the new houses proposed tonight comport with what's there on Church Road now, historic or not. And secondly, regulatory, in terms of how the only other commission consideration of a similar request proceeded. Perhaps no surprise, what you're being asked to do again tonight does not look anything like that. First, the physical environments. Near absent from the individual elevations presented to you is any context of those proposed homes within this existing historic neighborhood. Notably, you have no site development plan, no sketch plan before you to show how those now detailed architectural elements fit into this June 2024 scheme from DPZ, not a proposed streetscape, not a line of sight from historic scenic Church Road or nearby homes. I'm guessing that's not an oversight, that omission is intentional. The two so-called renderings of just 4 of the 13 proposed Franken mansions included in tonight's HPC agenda, 4 of now 8, not 6, proposed to Front Church Road, I would argue speak for rather against themselves. Absolutely not. Maybe not anywhere, given black and white setback requirements, fundamental land use law, but absolutely not on a century-old street, not in a historic neighborhood, not in one of our only 2 historic districts in this county. Those 2 renderings are why a commission like this exists, to ensure that something like that could never happen here. That brings me to Exhibit 4. If you look at reference or Exhibit 4, you'll see a title block to that singular sheet 2 of 3. On the right, above that lists a number of HDC mandated revisions through October of 2004. The final markups in that approved site development plan show specific names of house models, specific orientations, locations of deck, porch, and stairs on each house on a site plan and layout that, as it again says right on there, was approved by the Howard County Planning Board. You don't have that. You have the opposite of that. You have been presented in parts, in fragments, in conflicting forms, some presumed site layout that materially differs from what was presented to and approved by the Planning Board in 2016 by a 3-2 vote. Despite all manner of the neighborhood and other strenuous opposition, those others opposing, including specifically this very historic preservation commission. That's Exhibit 2 from May. What a majority of the Planning Board approved nonetheless is Exhibit 5 tonight. It says it right there, same as Woods of Park Place, approved by the Howard County Planning Board, this time on the left bottom side of that sheet 3 of 8. Right there, underneath the Fisher Collins insignia. Exhibit 5, same as Woods of Park Place, Exhibit 4, shows specific house models, A, B, and C, specific orientations marked by front, separate garages is this commission required across the street at Woods of Park Place, and mirroring every historic home on the street, where doors are even. Exhibit 5 shows those 3 house models, A, B, and C, facing 3 Woods of Park Place homes on one side of the new entrance, 3 more A, B, and C front church on the other side. Same as the Woods of Park Place site plan, the Planning Board approved a specific, very contentious site layout, what would front the scenic historic street and now Woods of Park Place across it. 7 years later, that site layout and housing crammed into it being presented to you, material differs. And that's Exhibit 6, the final plat approved by DPZ 3 months ago in June. A totally different streetscape than what the Planning Board considered and approved years earlier. Housing footprints swallowing whole what was proposed to be both house and separate garage in 2016. Why? I could not begin to tell you. I'm guessing Office of Law can't either, but it should. Before you consider anything else demanded of you tonight, that should be explained to you. You want to know how DPZ and the Historic Preservation Commission has handled a new development in the historic district? That's what Exhibit 4 shows in that title block headed chart of revisions, an iteration of legitimate process. Nothing about what's before you tonight is that. Depending on the audience, I've seen versions of those new 8 house layouts on the front of that development that are all over the place. The presentation that I saw submitted as part of the application shows a Lot 8 as depicted in Exhibit 6 that's entirely different. The DPZ final approved plat with the presentation made tonight also differs. Tonight, the presentation that I saw that wasn't actually made to you has little yellow boxes depicting the houses for each of the elevations with 4 different sides showing for each of those 13 lots. Look at Lot 8 and look at how that little yellow box wipes out the tree that otherwise would have been there. That's a 41-inch diameter English walnut proposed to survive this project in every submittal made to the county to date. Lot 8. The size of Lot 6 fronting church has been slashed nearly in half. You have no baseline anymore, to what other extent that Planning Board approved plan has been usurped. Maybe whoever in DPZ did that in June, in secret does, but you do not. The public does not. This office of the representing council member does not. Nothing before you justifies the sudden, abrupt departure from several years' appearances before the commission that is Exhibit 6. Nothing before you legitimizes the even further incompatibility with the surrounding neighborhood that is Exhibit 5, and nothing before you excuses the Department of Planning and Zoning from abandoning its past and only process, Exhibits 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is lawlessness, I say to you, Office of Law. The proposal before you, Historic Preservation Commission, is submitted as though you can and should consider individual house design in isolation of any context, as though they would exist as depicted in those hideous renderings included in tonight's agenda. Of course, you cannot. Of course, you have told the Lacey property applicants so again and again for years and years. Applicants and DPZ's demand repeated tonight to you, honorable subject matter experts comprising this Historic Preservation Commission, remains utterly unreasonable. You should please reject it. Thank you.